Hi, guys, welcome to music class. Today we're going to continue exploring music of the 20th century. We've already talked about some big events, important people, technology, and entertainment in the 1920s. And since this is our last week learning about the decade, I wanted to talk about some other famous entertainers of that time. Even though we didn't get a chance to see them or listen to their music, we can talk about their talents and contributions to the 1920s. This is Irving Berlin. He was a composer and lyricist, so he wrote music and words, and he's considered to be one of the greatest songwriters in American history. This is Charlie Chaplin. He was a comic actor, filmmaker, and composer who rose to fame in the era of silent film. Remember, we talked about the movies in the early 20s. They were black and white and had no sound. Charlie acted in many of these movies and became very well known. Duke Ellington was a composer, pianist, and leader of a jazz orchestra. Remember, the 20s are sometimes called the Jazz Age, so the music Duke Ellington and his orchestra played was very popular at the time. Harry Houdini was an illusionist and stunt performer, noted for his sensational escape acts. He entertained people by escaping from handcuffs and ropes and chains and straitjackets and lots of other dangerous situations. And last up, this is Cole Porter. He was a composer and songwriter. Many of his scores found success on Broadway and in film. Some of his more famous musicals include Anything Goes and Kiss Me Kate. So, if you want to learn more about any of these entertainers, please search them on Google or search them on YouTube to find out more about their amazing talents and accomplishments. Okay, let's listen to our last song from this decade. We are going to just listen for the tempo of this song, and then we're going to review everything we learned about the 20s. So let's check out our playlist. I hope you had time to listen to some of these other great songs. I know we didn't have time in class to listen to all of them, but if you have some time on your own and you want to go back and hear them, you can. Today we're going to choose It Had to Be You by Marion Harris. Let's listen. Again, we don't really have a video, but this is what the record for this song may have looked like.
Why do I do just as you say? Why must I just give you your way? Why do I try? Why don't I try to forget? It must have been that something love is called fate kept on saying I had to wait. I saw them all, just couldn't fall till we met. It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found the somebody who could make me be true, could make me be blue, and even be glad just to be sad thinking of you.
Let's see if we can find the tempo of this song. Ready?
Others I've seen might never be me.
1, 2, 3,
Might
4.
never be
You can clap along or tap along if you want to.
but they wouldn't do.
This is a good song to dance to. Maybe dance the foxtrot. This song was very popular in the 1920s. This is considered a standard of the 20s, so this was probably on the radio a lot. It was a song that lots of people liked. We can hear Marion Harris singing. Got a trumpet playing along. You can hear the piano now. Some of the instruments that we've heard in other songs of the 20s.
And even be glad just to be sad thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be me. enough for you and to be you.
Okay, let's talk about that song. What was the tempo of that song? It was something like this. It had to be you. What do you think? What is that speed? Was it fast, walking speed, or slow? If you want to pause while you make your choice, that's okay. That was a pretty slow song. It's about 60 beats per minute. So we'll say that's slow or largo. Good song to dance to, right? And what did you think about that song? I mentioned it was a pop song. It was very well liked in the 20s. Did you like it? It doesn't really sound like anything we hear on the radio. So if you like it, that's great. And if not, that's all right too. All right, let's review the whole decade, all of the 1920s. Most of the music from that time fit into these three styles: country and folk, jazz music, and blues. There were some other styles too, but these were the most popular ones. Jazz music and blues music are very similar styles. They have a lot of the same instruments, but the way to tell them apart is jazz music sometimes has no singing, it's just instruments, but it could have singing. Blues music always has singing, and blues music is usually very emotional. The singer is singing about what's making him blue, what's making him sad, or her. Which instrument was played in the 1920s? What instrument have we mentioned a few times in our songs? Was it a piano or a synthesizer? They look very similar, but the piano has the strings inside that play when you press the keys, and this has some electronics inside and some levers and some buttons here to make cool different sounds. So which instrument do you think they played in the 1920s? Pause if you need to, make your choice. The answer is piano. There were no synthesizers back then. The piano is what was played in the 1920s. So here are some of the other instruments we've learned about. These instruments were played most often in the 1920s: clarinets, guitars, trumpets, trombone, there's the piano again, and violin. And there were other instruments too, but we saw these most of the time in our songs. Bands also had drums, but drums were more of a background instrument, just kind of kept the beat. They weren't as loud and flashy as in other styles like rock or metal. And there was no electronic music. No electronic beats, no synthesizers, no auto tunes. Many live performances were acoustic. Whatever sound came out of the instrument is the sound that you heard at the performance in the dance hall or at the concert. Okay, next question. How did people listen to music in the 1920s? Did they have iPods or did they have phonographs? Take a minute and answer. If you said phonograph or gramophone, you are correct. People listen to music on the radio, live music in dance halls, or on records. So, in summary, some things from the 1920s are the same as they are now. We still see some of those instruments today. People still play the trumpet and the piano and the guitar. People still dance. Some of those styles, like country and jazz and blues, are still around. We have new ones too, but those old ones are still around. And some things from the 1920s are very different. We have lots of new technology that they didn't have back then. There are no iPods, there are no computers, and there were no TVs. So, my last question for you is, if you had a time machine, would you want to travel back to the 1920s and visit? This one's just for fun, no right or wrong answer. Yes, I wish I could go, or no thanks, I'll stay in 2020. What do you think? And that's it. We made it to the end of the 1920s. Up next, we're going to check out music of the 1930s. So I'll see you then.